Okay, we'll start the new Maimer. This is in Chelik Dalad of Maimori Meluket. Um, and this is the sixth Maimer. This is also a Yud Beis Tammuz Maimer. It says here in the note, the Rebbe said this on Shabbos Parshas Chukas Ubolok on Yud Beis Tammuz in Tofshin Lamed Vov. But in the note it says the Rebbe continued the Maimer. Yud Beis Tammuz was on Shabbos, Chokas and Bolok. The next day was Yud Gimel Tammuz. So on Sunday, Parshas Pinchas, which was Yud Gimel Tammuz, the Rebbe continued the Maimer. And then again on Tuesday, in the Parshas Pinchas, which was the 15th of Tammuz, that the Rebbe continued it. So this was all one continuation of the Maimer. They put together one Maimer from all these Maimorim. So these are basically three Maimorim, the Rebbe said, on Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, and Tesvav, on Shabbos, and on Sunday, and on Tuesday. And they published this Maimer later on, close to the Chag HaGeula, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, Tammuz, out of Shabbos Kodesh, Chokas Abalak Yud Beis Tammuz Tofshin Memvav. So in the year Tofshin Memvav, so the Rebbe said it in Lamed Vav. 10 years later, they published it. Okay. So the Maimer begins with the Posik in Tilim. Posik says in Perik Samach Posik Vav. It says Nosato lireecha Neis lihisnoises mipnei koishet selo. There's various different taichin. The Pashut Pshat first, nosato lireecha, that you, Hashem, has given to those who fear you, you've given them a neis lihisnoises. The first taich that Rebbe is going to bring down from the Targum Yonason is, you've given your those who fear you, you've given them a test to be tested by, so that those who fear you are being tested, and that is mipnei koishet selo. They get it from the eternal truth, which is Avram Avinu. Basically, Avram Avinu was the one who stood by all the tests, and the truth, that truth of standing by the test of Avram, gives the strength. The Eibishter has given those who fear him those tests, so they'll be tested by it, they'll be strong, and they get it from the strength of Avram. There's another taich that the Rebbe will bring soon, that the Eibishter gave us the nes, gave us the miracles, and these noises, big miracles, as we'll see in the Maimer. Maybe kveit kedushas moedichamu admur bal hagula v'hasimcha. So my father-in-law, the Rebbe, the master of the redemption and joy. That was Yud Beis Tammuz when he went out to freedom. The Mamore Dibur HaMaschil Zeh, in the Maimer that opened up with this opening. And that the Rebbe said in the year Tofresh Sadig Gimel, that was 6 years after he was freed from prison, from Pezayim when he was freed. 6 years later, he was already in out of Russia, but then that's when he spoke this Maimer. So he says, he brings down the Pirush HaTargum Yonason. He brings down the interpretation of the Targum Yonason, of Targum Yonason, of Yonason ben Uziel. Yahavto lidcholech. Yahavtech, you have given, nosato, lidcholech, those who fear you. Nisolis nasobe. This is Meloshin Nisoin. You're giving them a test to be tested by. Min biglal Kushta de Avram la'almin. It is because of the eternal truth, the kushta of Avram forever. Bipnei koishet, the truth that's his Avram Avinu, that's he's the kushta of Avram. Selo means forever. That's the way he brings down the touch. Hine posik zeh Amrei David Neim Zmiris Yisrael. This pasuk is in Tehillim. So even though it says here, you've given those who fear you, so you might think we're talking here about some special tzaddikim who have the level of fear. So he says, no, since this pasuk was said by David, who was the sweet singer of Israel, meaning that he said the songs for Hashem, B'Shem Kol Echad Ve'echad Mi Yisrael. He said it in the name representing each and every one of the Jewish people. So this is a song that every Jewish people says before the Eibishter, before Hashem. David HaMelech is singing this song in the name of each and every one. So that means that every Yid is saying, Nosato Liראיך, Shemizem move on. So from this we understand the Kol HaProtim Shebekosub Zeh, that all of the details in this pasuk, Yeshnam Gamkein Eitzel Kol Echad Ve'echad MiYisrael, there exist by each and every one of the Yid. So even though it looks like a very lofty, special high madrege, but because this is in Tehillim and this is said as representative of every Yid, so we have to say that every Yid has that, what we're saying in this pasuk. Nosatu liראיך. Ukemuvon gamkein mipirush hatargum, and that can also be understood from the translation of the Targum. What does it mean, mipnei koishet sela? Who is this eternal truth? So he says, Hainu kushte de Avraham. He said, this is the true truth of Avraham. So now we're talking about the level of Avraham. We know Avraham is our forefather. He's the Ovis. And we know that the forefathers, their level exists. They inherited of their level to every Yid, especially Avraham, who was the first of the forefathers. The Yodua. So this means he's everybody's forefather. Every Yid, Avraham is his forefathers. The Yodua. The Bechina Sa'avis Yeshna Eitzel Kol Echad Ve'echad. The level of Avis exists by each and every one. The Ein Koirin Avis Elo Lishloisha. There's only 3 that are called Avis, which basically is as explained elsewhere. The level of the Shvatim, that's unique to the people of that tribe. So somebody who is from a different tribe doesn't necessarily have the qualities of the tribes themselves if he's not from that tribe. But the Ovis, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, that's across the board for everyone. So now that we're saying that Mipnei Koishet Selo, we're talking about Avram over here. He is one of the forefathers of the 3 forefathers, which means that they're connected to every Yid. He is the Rosh Surim. Goimer, as we said in the Parshas Balak over there, Rosh Surim Ar Eno. The Rosh Surim, the top of the mountains, that's the Ovis. They are our Rosh, they're our head. So this is with regards to all the 3 Ovis. Ubefrat Avram, and particularly Avram Shehu Reish Ovis. He was the head, the top, the first of the forefathers. So move on. So now from this we also understand that you've given those who fear you. The reason is because of Avram, and Avram belongs to everybody. So we understand when we're saying that you've given to those who fear you, this means every Yid. That what the Eibishter has given us, that koyach, is because we get it from Avram Avinu. So it means that koyach kamkin al kol echad v'echad miYisrael, meaning that each and every one of the Yidden gets that koyach to be lireyecha. Nosato lireyecha. We all have the koyach of this nes, להתנוסס, as a inheritance from Avram. That's the reason why we have nosato lireyecha. So now also this also fits with what it says in the pasuk, that every Yid has the level of Yira. So Lireyecha is every Yid, as we explained now, because the reason it comes from Avram that applies to everyone. The Rebbe started off by saying that David HaMelech says it in the name of everyone. And now the Rebbe brings, there's a verse that every Yid, we learn that every Yid has the level of Yira. The pasuk says, and they would be called Yirecha, V'ato Yisrael, Mo Hashem Eleikecha Shoyel Me'imach Ki'im Le'yira Gomer. The pasuk says that what Moshe Rabbeinu is telling them, what is Hashem asking of you? Only to fear you. So, which means, Eibishter says it's not really so difficult. All what he's asking is to fear him. So the Gemara asks, but fear doesn't seem to be such a small matter. And the Gemara answers, well, Moshe Rabbeinu is saying this, and to Moshe Rabbeinu, fear was a small matter. So the Alter Rebbe in Tanya in Perek Chof Hei asks, okay, it was a small thing for Moshe Rabbeinu, but how is this a small thing for every Yid? And it explains that the legabei b'chinas Moshe b'kol echad v'echad. There is a level of Moshe in each and every one. Yira hi milsa zutrasa. The fear becomes something, fearing Hashem is something small. And that's why Nosata l'reyecha, we all have, every Yid. V'yesh loymar, we can say, shalachein, kol echad v'echad miYisrael. That's why each and every one of the Jewish people, gam asher b'shem Yisrael yichuna, even a person who is just called a Yid, but he doesn't have really any connection or any inner meaning to Yiddishkeit. He is only called a Yid. He is nicknamed a Yid. That's what we call him. He also is called the Reyecha, because we're saying that there is the Moshe, which is in every Yid, and because of that level of Moshe, every Yid is called the Reyecha. This is what the pasuk says. Nosato l'reyecha nes להתנוסס, that you gave every Yid that level of fear to withstand and to the nisyonis, the nes l'h'tשלו, which means HaKadosh Baruch Hu noisen l'kol echad v'echad miYisrael. Nes להתנוסס. He gives every Yid a test to be tested, because we have kibikol echad ve'echad yeshnoi hakushtei d'Avram. We all have the truth of Avram, who was tested and he stood by the test. We all have that level. That would be everyone, even the one that is B'Shem Yisrael, only Yichuna, only nickname. base. Mamshir b'hamaimer, so it continues the maimer that v'yadua the Avraham Avinu olav hasholem posach hatziner de Mesiras Nefesh. It's known that Avraham Avinu, he opened up the pipeline of Mesiras Nefesh, which means he's the first one who had Mesiras Nefesh for his service to Hashem. And the Yeshloimah, so what is the Rebbe bringing out this part that Avraham Avinu opened it up? Because the Yeshloimah, so the Rebbe explains, Shebazeh mevair tam hadover she'avodas hanisyones keshura im kushtei da Avraham davke. He wants to explain the reason for this matter that we're saying that this avodah of the testing that we have, the Eibishter gives us, is associated with Avraham, of the Ovis, it's associated with Avraham. So the Rebbe wants to explain that by saying that Avraham opened up Mesiras Nefesh, the pipeline for Mesiras Nefesh, because one wonders, why would we associate the level of Yireh with Avraham? Avraham, we know more, served the Eibishter with the level of Ava, not with the level of Yireh. We say Avraham Oyavi, Avraham that loves me, is a level of Ava. And here we're saying that it is the level of Yireh. We're saying the Sata Liראich from Avraham. So why is Avraham connected to the level of Yireh? And the answer is, it brings down because Avraham opened up the level of Mesiras Nefesh. And Mesiras Nefesh actually is the level of Yireh, which the Pasuk says, Ato yodaiti kirei elikim ato, that after the Nisoyan of the Akedah, he got the level of Yireh. So I explain. Why the Nisyonis are connected to Avraham? The Lechaire Hareikar Avedis Avraham Lo Yoiso Be'inyan Liראיך. It wasn't mainly, Avraham didn't serve mainly the Eibishter with the aspect of fearing Hashem. Avedis HaYireh, the service of Yireh. Ki'im b'ha'ava, but Avraham was mainly with love. But as the Pasuk says, Avraham oy havi, Avraham who loves me. So that he explains, Shavar Avraham Avinu olav hasholem, that Avraham Avinu olav hasholem posach hatziner the Mesiras Nefesh. He opened up the pipeline of Mesiras Nefesh. Shavodas hanisyonis, because the avodah of nisyonis, the Liראיך nesli is noised, the avdil nisyonis, he alidei Mesiras Nefesh davke. That comes through self-sacrifice, and the Mesiras Nefesh hishleimus inyan hayireh v'habitl. The level of self-sacrifice, that is the complete of the idea of fearing Hashem and your subjugation. The level of fear and the level of subjugation to Hashem to the fullest extent is Mesiras Nefesh, that you fear Hashem and you're subjugated to Hashem, that you even give up your life. So Mesiras Nefesh, which is required to overcome the nisyonis, comes from the highest level of Yireh and Bittul, which gives you the ability to overcome all the nisyonis, that you're ready to give everything up because of your love and because of your fear and subjugation of Hashem. V'zeu shekosuf. That's why the Pasuk. after it came to the test of the Akedah, in the binding of Yitzchak, when Avram took Yitzchak and bound him, was ready to sacrifice him. So the Torah, the Pasuk says, Ato yodaiti kirei elikim ato. He says, now I know that you fear Hashem, because the level of the Nisoyin required before Avram served the Eibishter, Avram Avi. He served the Eibishter with love, with Ava. But the level of the Nisoyin required total level of Yira and Bittul for Mesiras Nefesh. That's why after the Akedah it says, Ata Yadaiti Kirei Elikim Ata, that you have the level of Yira Elikim. So Nisyonis, we're saying is Mesiras Nefesh. The Rebbe explains now, Nisyonis as an avodah, the service of the Eibishter tests people. That's a avodah, like Avraham Avinu was tested. The Eibishter tests people. That's a service. You have the avodah of Torah mitzvahs, the regular Torah mitzvahs. The regular Torah mitzvahs, you have to do it with Mesiras Nefesh. It's not called an avodah of Nisyonis. That's avodah of Torah mitzvahs. The avodah of Nisyonis, that's specifically a level of service which requires the highest level of Mesiras Nefesh. Let's see. Rebbe explains, V'hine, ze sha'avodas hanisyonis hi alidei Mesiras Nefesh davke. That we're saying that the service of Nisyonis, nosato liראיך neis להתנוסס, the avodah of Nisyonis, and that comes with Nekosh Tzela, that comes because of the Mesiras Nefesh of Avram. Hakavonu b'zehi ledarga nailis shabo. The intent here is to the elevated step in the level of Mesiras Nefesh. Dehine klolus ha'avodah b'Torah mitzvahs. Generally, when you're serving the Eibishter by learning Torah, doing mitzvahs, tzorich liyis miyusadas al avodah the Mesiras Nefesh. It needs to be based on the service of Mesiras Nefesh. And generally, when Torah mitzvahs needs to have based on Mesiras Nefesh. Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, Yisa b'Tanya, Hatam lo motziva Moshe Rabbeinu olav hasholim l'doir shenichnasu la'oretz likreis kriya shema chulu. Moshe Rabbeinu told the Yidden, he told them to read the Shema, meaning that they should be ready to give up everything for Hashem. But they didn't need to give everything up. They were going into Eretz Yisrael. Hashem promised them to go into Eretz Yisrael. But Alter Rebbe explains that in order to fully do mitzvahs, you always have to remember Mesiras Nefesh, because you have to realize that you have to do for the Eibishter. So therefore, all the obstacles that get in your way for doing Torah mitzvahs won't stop you from doing Torah mitzvahs. You have to remember all the time that level of love that you're ready to give up for Hashem, so you're ready to give up and stand up to any kinds of tests, any kinds of difficulties and challenges that you may have, and you're still going to love Hashem, you're still going to do it. So that's an avodah for all of Torah mitzvahs. The Alter Rebbe explains, Kedisa b'Tanya hatam, lo motziva Moshe Rabbeinu olav hasholem l'doir shenichnasu la'oretz. Why did he tell the generation that entered into Eretz Yisrael likreis kriya shema, chulu tereit shema, is mishum? Why do they need Mesiras Nefesh? Mishum shekim ha'Torah mitzvahs tolui Because in order to fulfill Torah mitzvahs, you have to remember Mesiras Nefesh all the time. So that's a level of Mesiras Nefesh as well, all Torah mitzvahs. V'chein klolus inyan eisek haTorah v'hatfila, eitzel haneshama. So the same thing is generally when we talk about the occupation of Torah mitzvahs and davening by the soul, who inyan shel Mesiras Nefesh chulu. That's idea of giving over their souls. Why? Kivon she'ena maharheres b'tzorech haguf chulu. Because it is not thinking of the needs of the body. It's occupied in Torah mitzvahs and davening. It's not maharis. So that's sort of Mesiras Nefesh, giving away your needs and you're occupying your Torah mitzvahs. But openly, what is the avodah? It's not Mesiras Nefesh. You're doing ki'im, avodah the Torah mitzvahs. What you're doing is Torah mitzvahs. Shemekayim hamitzvahs aseh b'chol proteihem. He observes, fulfills all the positive mitzvahs, all the details. V'nizhar b'mitzvahs loisaseh b'chol proteihem. And he's careful in mitzvahs loisaseh in all the details. That is what he's doing. Move on. So from this it's understood. It's not Mesiras Nefesh by itself. The avodah is Torah mitzvahs, but you put yourself away to do Torah mitzvahs. Elo kemoshi kishura im avodah the Torah mitzvahs mulubeshes, but rather as it's tied with the service of Torah mitzvahs, it's dressed up in Torah mitzvahs. Shehi avodah pitam vadas. Torah mitzvahs is a service which is according to reason and rationale. That's the avodah of Torah mitzvahs. It's not an avodah higher. It is an avodah that you're doing with dedication. But the avodah itself is a rational avodah. It's avodah al pitam vadas. V'yeshloimar. So, what powers of the soul do you employ for the avodah of Torah mitzvahs, the regular? Shebekoychas hanefesh hu inyan ha'avodah mitzad makif hakorev hashayich lipnimi. So that is the avodah mitzad makif hakorev, which means the close makif. You still need to give you that extra Mesiras Nefesh for what you're doing, your devotion to Torah mitzvahs. So it is the level of makif, but it's the level of makif hakorev. It's the level that is the makif that is close to the avodah pnimis, hashayich lepnimi umislabish boy, and it dresses up in the pnimi. So in the Torah mitzvahs, you have the makif, you have the Mesiras Nefesh. Al derech koyach harotzin shemislabish b'chokhmah. This will be similar to having the power of rotzin, which is a makif, the power of the will, that it dresses up in chokhmah. Ba'al yodo, and through chokhmah, b'klolus koyach haseichel umidis, and through chokhmah in generally, in the power of the seichel umidis, koychas hapnimim shel ha'odom, the inner koychas of the person. Mashein kein avodas hanisyonos, as opposed to the service of nisyonos, meaning you're working at the nisyonos. The Eibishter gives you, and you're working now, not Torah mitzvahs, you're working nisyonos now, testing. That is the service of Mesiras Nefesh itself. That is the service of Mesiras Nefesh. Nisyonis are Mesiras Nefesh. It's not Torah that you have to do with challenges, but it's the avodah of Nisyonis. That's the avodah of Mesiras Nefesh itself. And that later on, from that Mesiras Nefesh, as it evolves from it, matters of service that you serve later with the 10 powers of your soul, because what happens is you're being tested, and after the test you withstand the test, and then you do the will of Hashem, and you use your 10 koiches to do what Hashem wants. So it also comes down later on, but this is secondary and a result from the main aspect. The main aspect is its Mesiras Nefesh, avodas hanisyonos. But so we have Mesiras Nefesh, and then because you have Mesiras Nefesh, you will do the things in with the Koiches HaNefesh. Yesh lemer shebekoiches HaNefesh. What is this power of Nisyonos? Ibchinas makif harochik. That will be the further makif. The Rebbe didn't taychal before makif hakorov would be the level of chaya. The makif harochik will be b'chinas yichida shebenefesh. That's the level of yichida. So now, the Rebbe explained that there's a chilik of avodas hanisyonos that you do with Mesiras Nefesh, and avodah of Torah mitzvahs that you do with Mesiras Nefesh. By avodah of Torah mitzvah, Mesiras Nefesh, the main thing is the Torah mitzvahs, but you employ the level of Mesiras Nefesh. That's employing the level of Chaya, the level of Makif HaKorev. But then you have the avodas hanisyonos that later on trickles down into the Koiches HaNefesh. That's the avodah of Chaya. So now that we're saying of Yechida, I'm sorry, the level of Yechida. Now that we're saying it's connected to the level of Yechida, so the Rebbe will say, now we also understand the connection to the other Pirush, Nasatu Derecha Neis, from the Lashon of miracles. And the miracles are the eternal miracles, the deep miracles, which in the person, that's the level of Yechida as well. According to this, we can tie the two interpretations. Aleph, Inyan Hanisyonos Kipirush Hatargim Yenis and Kiral, one was as the Targim Yenis that we said before. And Beis, Inyan Hanisim. The second one, Nasat L'Recha Neis, you gave miracles to them, to those who fear you. V'neis liis noises. So what does it mean, a miracle liis noises? To miracleize this noises? Or derech loshon chazal neis betoich neis. A neis within a neis, which means double miracles, like what it says by the staff. After it turned into a stick, it swallowed the other sticks. So it was a neis betoich neis. So there's ki avodas. So what's the connection between testing and miracles? Ki avodas hanisyonos. Because the avodah of nisyonos comes from the level of the miracle within the miracle, which in the nefesh, shebenefesh, chinas yichida. That's the miracle of the miracle, is the level of yichida, and that's what's needed for the avodas hanisyonos, as the Rebbe will continue to explain, and will be mamshav the next time.
Yeah. Thank you. Have a good day.
Brilliant.